Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you. You know, I was thinking, I want to first ask you guys a question. Have any of you recently been in a situation where you feel geared up and you're ready and you're pumped to start a major task or work plan? Anybody recently done that in the last 6 months or so? Yeah, it's many of us in this room. So in this technological day and age, many of us, to start that big work plan, will sit in front of a computer, a tablet, a cell phone, whatever technological device of one's choosing. So you get ready, you're ready to go. I'm like, okay, I'm pumped. I'm going to start this new project, right? First, I realize, oh, shoot, I need to download something to my operating system to begin. So you say, okay, you press the button to download, and you'll see a screen that looks like this, right? Anyone ever seen this screen? So you're like, okay, it's going to download. I'll give it a minute. So you may pause and do something else that doesn't require your attention and doesn't require you to use the computer. You may step away for a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds, say, okay, I'll wait for a little bit. You turn back, and you're like, oh, look, I'll go back to my computer. Sometimes, what do you see? Really? Okay, so if you're like me, you're like, okay, it was a really large file, maybe didn't work out so great, so I'll take another break. And if you're like me, it's like, I'm gonna go get a snack. And you may say, why a snack? Because I freaking love snacks. So that's my way to get away and go back. So I go and I get my snack. And I'm having a great time with it. Then I say, okay, I'm gonna finally come back to my computer. It's done by now. What the hell did I see? Surprise, surprise. So you ever have that moment where this is happening and you're in this rush to do something big, something major that you've gotten yourself so excited about? And you see this screen, and if you're like me, you start to talk to yourself or maybe the computer like, really? Is this what we're doing now? I mean, come on, guys. And you may even think, I might throw this damn computer out the window. But our saner selves are saying there's something that's causing this block in my operating system. There's something that's keeping me from doing the task at hand. I simply need to reboot. Our minds and our mindsets are our operating systems as human beings. Sometimes we all need a reboot. We all have blocks that are keeping us from progressing in life. Many times they could be self-inflicted. Have you ever heard the phrase, sometimes you can get in your own way? Or other times it may be from external forces because someone has said something to you or about you that has crushed your confidence along the way. ATECH, it's time to hack that operating system. But in order to take over an operating system, one must figure out what's causing that block so that I can take it over and have it do something other than what it's currently doing. So for many of us, what is causing that block? Fear. Not the kind of fear that you feel this season during Halloween. You go watch a scary movie, and as soon as the credits roll, you're like, oh, thank God I can leave the movie theater. This is not real life. No, but the kind of fear that stays with you, that's been with you for weeks, months, and some of us even a lifetime. What do we fear the most? According to Global Entrepreneurship Monitoring Report, 30 to 60% of entrepreneurs experience a fear of failure. Now that's a wide gap, but if I think about that on the high end of that spectrum, over half of all entrepreneurs face this fear of failure. And it's not just entrepreneurs, it's all of us in this room. Every single one of us at some point in our lives tried something new, and maybe part of it felt like, this might not go well. But what is a fear of failure? Some of the most successful individuals in our history have had repeated failures. If we look at someone like Milton Hershey from Hershey Food Corp, Hershey Food Corp because I like snacks, before gaining success, he filed for bankruptcy for his first four candy companies. Some of us may be going, it would have only taken me one. I would have been like, I'm out, flag on the play, it's over. But he kept going. Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds of our history, did poorly in elementary school and even failed his first college entrance exam. But what Mr. Hershey and Mr. Einstein had in common is that they did not allow fear to paralyze them. They used the lessons learned from those failures to propel them into success. So you're like, okay, fear of failure, I got it. It may not work out, but let's unpack that a little bit. The fear of failure includes many things. One being the imposter syndrome. We've all been there. Some of us still might. And that's one of those things where you feel like you may be unqualified or underqualified for the task at hand. Let me give you an example. You are invited to speak, or you're invited to join a group of so-called experts on a topic. This is your new business venture. You've posited yourself, I am the expert on this, right? So you get there, and your outer self has this presence like, okay, I'm going to command the room. But inside, you're feeling, oh my God, I hope I don't get found out. Please don't ask me a question I don't know. Or it may be that a friend or colleague has asked you for your expert opinion, and your inner self is going, shit, why are they asking me? But your outer self, because the imposter syndrome is the perception that we have of others, you go, that's an excellent question. How about we dissect that so we can come up with some theories? But inner you is going, fuck, right? So not only is it the imposter syndrome that's the part of the fear of failure, we all want to be relevant. We all want to keep up with the times. As everyone wants things bigger, faster, smarter, bigger, faster, smarter, bigger, faster, smarter. You're like, I gotta keep up, I gotta keep up. Excellence is always the goal for all of us. We always want to be with the trends or ahead of them. We never want to be behind the market, behind our perceived peers, and worse yet, behind our competitors. And so you may be saying, what's the other part? It's basic, the fear of not making money. It's a basic fear that we've all had in our lives. So you're saying to yourself, Chanel, you provided me what that block is, fear, we dissected it, okay, I'm ready to go. How do I get rid of fear? Guess what? You can't. Fear is one of those emotions we all feel. Sometimes it's our reality check to protect us from ourselves. But sometimes it creates the biggest block to progress. So the only thing you can do, which we'll go through, is use tools in your toolkit to combat fear head on. Face everything and rise. Hack that operating system. So part of facing everything and rising is you have to think about the things in your life that may need to be moved out to allow good things to come in. Shift your mindset. There may be people, relationships, and things in your life that don't belong. Let's talk about your inner circle. Who are the people who are surrounding you? Are they rooting for you? Are they believing in your cause or your vision? Are they supporting you and loving you enough to give you a healthy dose of reality without completely crushing you? Or are they the roadmap people? And the roadmap people are people who I've determined are people who, when you provide your idea or a vision, They will give you the roadmap as to how everything can go wrong. Well, girl, if you make this turn, you're going to go broke. Then if you go down this street, ooh, nobody's going to care. Then if you go here, you're going to be a failure. And you just think to yourself, shut up. Who are the 5 people in your circle? There is a saying that you are the average of the 5 people with whom you spend the most time with. There were a few years ago that I was in a bit of a professional and personal rut, and I realized part of it was because of my own doing, but also part of it was because of the people who were in my top 5. They were people who didn't want more for themselves, and how could they? Maybe they didn't know how to. When I had big dreams that I wanted to share, some of those folks were like, it'll never happen. They were very road-mappy. And in hindsight, how could I ever expect them to believe in my dreams when sometimes they had given up on their own? Who are your top 5? Now, while you think about your top 5, I want to tell you a story about 4 amazing friends. So there was once this group of 4 friends who grew up in a small community, shared amazing childhood adventures, and eventually grew up and went their separate ways. But what kept them together was their love of their community. So one day, one of the friends called the other 4 and says, I know of this amazing, dynamic, incredible group of young entrepreneurs in our community, and I'd like to give them all the support that I can. Do you mind serving on a panel discussion? And without even asking, the other 3 were like, hell yeah. Well, maybe they didn't say that, but they said yes. And they joined. The panel discussion went great, and they thought, why not put this on a grander scale? Why not bring our network and our resources to support these entrepreneurs and put our community on a global scale? So they took flight with that idea. 5 months later, they held a press conference in which they announced a technology conference coming to their community. All they had were some marketing material, a vision that turned into a business plan, but not a single dollar in the bank. But they held that press conference. Guess how many people showed up? 10. Some of you may be thinking, ooh, only 10? But those 4 friends thought, wow, 10. Let's keep the momentum going. So they reached out to their networks, they reached out to their friends, governmental officials. They reached out to local businesses to garner supports, even hosting small events around the world to bring attention to their community. They say that they were scared. Many times they were scared. They were fearful. They were fearful that this thing just might not work out. It would fail, and that people wouldn't take them seriously. But they said their motivation was larger than their fear. They could not afford not to try. Not that they could not afford to fail, not to fail. They could not afford not to try, not to take that first step, that first leap of hope. 4 months later, they had the technology conference. Ticket sales weren't exactly what they expected in advanced ticket sales. The day of the event, they showed up and opened the doors to the public and realized they had sold more tickets than they had ever expected. There was a buzz that was going around the community. They looked at each other and thought, wow, this is real. And 3 years later, they're on their way to making their community a technology and startup ecosystem. That community was Aruba. Those 4 friends, ATECH founders. Let's give it up. Let's give it up for Valerie, Rudy, Chris, and Tristan. They are an inspiration to us all how we could plant the small seed of change, surround ourselves around the right people, and take a vision and turn it into action. They are an inspiration to me, and I hope to all of you. And can we also get a shout out for this badass picture? This is like an epic picture. Like, we're gonna be the best technology conference in the world. Universe, hear us loud and clear on this. Who are the top 5 people in your circle? But these great individuals did more than just surround themselves with great people. They put in the work. They put in a lot of work, and still are. Some of them might be running around backstage now. They took a vision and turned it into a plan and took action. There's a famous poet who says, as you walk along the way appears. They didn't know how this was going to turn out, but they just had to try it. What did they do? They invested in themselves. They invested in their talents. They invested in ATECH. Warren Buffett says if you can increase your talents by 10%, 20%, or 30%, you can enhance your potential. They can't tax that away from you. You have it for a lifetime. Invest in yourself, ATECH. Hack that operating system. And so what does that investment look like? You're like, invest in yourself? That makes no sense. Yes, it does. If we think of our lives like a bank account, we're always doing, running, going to the next thing, driving to the next thing. What's the next thing on my schedule? Okay, I have this. What are the things that you are doing for yourself? If you think of your life like a bank account, if you're always constantly making withdrawals, always running to the next thing and not doing anything for yourself, but not making a corresponding deposit or investment, guess what? You end up with a life depleted. Invest in yourself. What does that investment look like? First and foremost, our mental and our physical health. For many of us, you just have to investigate what works for you. It may be prayer, it may be meditation. What are you doing at the top of the morning to calm the noise before you enter into the world? And for some of us, it might be a positive affirmation. For me, sometimes I feel like Atlas, like the weight of the world is on my shoulders and I'm going from thing to thing. But sometimes I have to be kind to myself and say, whatever comes my way today, I will handle it and it will be okay, because guess what? There's tomorrow. It's also your physical well-being. Are you taking the time to work out, to do things for your body? Okay, I'm going to be completely honest. I hate working out. I really don't. I'm like a stilettos and lipstick kind of girl. I don't do the sweaty stuff. I like, but I have some claps in the room. But I find that when I do it, it helps me immensely. And so I had to find a way to do it that didn't seem so burdensome. So a couple of times a week, I work out with a friend. I'm in New York. We work out in Central Park, and we'll go for a walk. Sometimes run, but not really a run, a walk. And then we'll walk and talk and laugh. We'll share our experiences, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And we'll encourage each other, even working through a solution to a problem. There are some times that we say, we're going to keep walking until we figure out how to brainstorm your next step. And depending on how big the problem is, it can be a really long walk. But it's one of those things that I didn't know I needed for myself until I start doing it. I'm a better Chanel when I do it. My energy is up. My mental capacity is up. And like I said before, I like snacks. And the combination of liking snacks and not liking working out wasn't working out really well for me, so. But investing in yourself is also investing in one's technical skills. So as Smiley was talking about earlier, what are the things that you're thinking about for new developments that are happening in your job, in your space, in your field? Are you taking the courses that will help enhance your talents, whether that they be online, in person, collaborating with other groups? Or are they investing in your network? Who are the people you admire and you aspire to be like? Who are your peers with whom you can collaborate and have collaborative solutions together? Invest in yourself. Invest in your talent. Now, many of us also think about our technical, our mental, and our health, and we forget about our soft skills. Our presence and the way we present ourselves to the world are equally important. I love talking. I was a kid, I was shy, I grew up, became an adult, and now I won't shut up. But this is something I love and I'm good at. But I want to continue to evolve. So I didn't want to take classes that were like, okay, this is public speaking 101, imagine your audience naked. I didn't want to do stuff like that. We are all innovators. So I had to think of creative ways to allow me to do the things that I love, just like walking with a friend was my creative way to get me to work out. So I took an improv comedy class. It was amazing. And my father, who's like one of my biggest cheerleaders, but also gives me a dose of reality, he's like, girl, you are crazy. What are you doing? Improv comedy? But I learned so much. I learned 4 main things in skill sets. Before we go to those 4 main skill sets, I learned a lot about myself. Every good comedian is a good storyteller. So when you're giving a pitch, when you're giving a presentation, when you're giving an update, that's exactly what you're doing, telling a story that has a start, a middle, and an end with a theme that goes throughout. You're telling a story. But I also learned 4 things about myself that were major. 1, I'm probably never going to have a career as a comedian. I learned the art of collaboration, because in improv comedy, it's you and your partner on stage and no one else. So how to collaborate and get a laugh out of the audience using someone who doesn't think like you, who attacks a problem differently from you, who has a different background. I also learned to have an active listening ear. I had to listen for cues that my team member was giving me in order to respond correctly. If they're talking about apples and I start talking about oranges, that scene is fucked up, right? But most importantly, I learned to think on my feet. Collaboration, active listening skills, thinking on your feet. All skills that all of us have or are developing. Invest in yourself, ATECH. Hack your operating system. So when I think about those investments in oneself, it's sharpening the tools that we need to bring our full and most abundant selves into every situation. So as business professionals, as entrepreneurs, those of us representing startups, even in our personal lives, sometimes we are called on to be financial advisors, innovators, strategists, and even listening ears. What are you doing to sharpen your skill set to bring your full self to every situation and your full self to life? We only get one of them. So my message to you is to whatever is in your heart right now, whatever vision or plan it could be. So some of you may be representing a company, some of you may be founders, some of you may be sitting in this audience because you bought a ticket to ATECH and you're like, I just want to know what the hell this is about. And it's in Aruba. Hell yeah, right? Or some of us are thinking about the next phase in our personal and professional lives. My hope for you is that you don't continuously see that loading screen. Face everything and rise. Take the first step. And sitting in the stage right here might be your first step. But no matter what step you take, large or small, it's a step towards your vision is a step in the right direction. You ever heard those people who sit back and talk and say, ooh, I could have done this, but then this got in the way. I started a family. I joined a company, have crazy hours. I'm doing, teaching a class here. Life is too busy. I could have done this. I should have done this. My life would have been better, but all these things got in my way. Okay, but I don't feel like I'm smart enough anymore. And those are the shoulda, coulda, woulda people. Those are the people who are taking that trip down memory lane, a constant trip down memory lane. Lane is for people who have given up on their dreams. Don't be one of them. So my hope for all of you today, every single one of you, including myself, is that we take the tools within our disposal to unblock those things that are impeding our progress. And so we don't live a life constantly seeing this over and over again, loading data. Fuck, how much data do you have to load? That we don't constantly see this in our lives, but we take those first steps, we sharpen our toolkits, we invest in ourselves, we look at our inner circles so that in life we don't constantly see this, but eventually download complete. Invest in yourself. Hack your operating system. My name is Frazier, and I'm thankful that you spent your afternoon with me.